Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of Thrive Like a Parent podcast. Today is going to be another one of those coffee talks. So, just you and me hanging out. And every now and then, you are interested in life updates and what is going on with my life and how I'm doing or what is going on lately, right? There is no ability for me to share what is going on truly with me in little tiny minute segments on stories. And as much as I try to give you the ins and outs of where I'm at in life, and, I feel that that side of me and my life really gives you more of a connection to who I am, allows you to get to know me and even decide whether you like me or not, decide whether you trust my information, decide whether this is a place you want to be within my community, whether it's simply listening to my podcast or having more of a connection with us in terms of being a client or joining Thrive. So today, I'm going to give you a little life update. We're going to talk about the big four of Jonathan being gone and how I've been since that anniversary of Jonathan's passing. We're going to talk about the house. We're going to talk about Prenuvo. We're going to talk about all the things. I got a list of things. So let's dive right in. Now, the first thing I want to talk to you about is year number 4. Gosh, I can't believe it's May. And I have to tell you, it felt like April lasted forever. I was like, what? We're still in April? Like over and over and over and over and over again. And I didn't have as much anticipatory grief or fear of what would this be like this year? What would it look like on the day that is the anniversary of Jonathan's passing? And so I went into it really optimistic. Like truly, truly very optimistic. Last year, I kind of felt like I was doing really great and I went into it very optimistic. And the night before Jonathan's anniversary of his passing for 3 years, I got a text message and it kind of rocked my world. And that led into just a really hard anniversary day. And I would say one of the biggest things about those days are that I don't necessarily feel my children need to know the day that their dad passed. It's not a great memory. It's not something to necessarily celebrate. And so I carry that burden of knowing that date on my own. Of course, other friends and family and Carter knows that date, but I just don't feel that it's something my children need to hang on to and know. And Charlie is so good with dates and memory of time, and he would remember it. If I told him once, he would know it for the rest of his life. And eventually he will know it. But right now, there's just no need. So last year, I remember being at Charlie's baseball game and just sitting there, and I was in a grumpy mood. And Carter was there and he's like, is there anything I can do to help? And I was like, no, it's just a grumpy day. And I just got to be here and get through it. And sometimes the weight of having to feel it alone, where my child is hitting a baseball and running running around the field, and my other one is laying in my lap or Carter's lap watching Charlie's game, and they have absolutely no idea the day that it is, that can weigh on me. But this year was a win in so many different ways. And I usually just go quiet on that day. I usually don't show up in stories. I usually honestly don't really have clients on that day. I block everything out and I just prepare because I don't know how that day will go until that day comes. And I think I even saw clients. Eli had a baseball game and the wildest thing happened. I was sitting in my car while Eli was warming up before his baseball game. Charlie may have been doing practice. Either way, I was in the car alone, which I don't have much alone time anymore at the moment with spring and baseball. I pulled out my phone and I did a vlog and I started talking about all the things that were aha moments about this particular anniversary and this year. And what brought me to tears was I have never had the capacity to truly show up on that day or even fathom doing a podcast on that day or even fathom doing a vlog on that day, to be able to kind of talk to you in real time of where I was at. And I took that in because I'm always collecting data within myself. And I recognized that was a win. That was a win in terms of being able to speak in real time about how I was feeling, what was going on in my life, and the realizations. I think that each year that comes anniversary-wise for Jonathan, I recognize more and more and more. And And they're always healthy things. They're always aha moments, or they're always, wow, like let's look back, because that is what happens when you track your data and you listen into your nervous system and support your brain and body and your mental health. Is you have this like journal within you of markers. And sometimes people ask me, well, how do I track that? How do I write it down? And my answer to that is, you will remember the things you need to remember. You will know and be able to remind yourself of those moments that matter. And that is clearly a big marker for me. Now, some of the things I recognize on that day were how quiet the phone was, in terms of not many reaching out, not many acknowledging, not many remembering that it was the day that it was. Stick with me on this one, because there's beauty in this. As much as you can hear that and say, wow, like how sad, that's probably a really hard day for Brooke. And no one was there for her, or no one reached out, or why, right? Like why wouldn't people remember? And I'm saying, like, family, like mom, sister, dad, like very few remembered and reached out. I think the first year it was so fresh and we were all thinking about it. How could you not reach out, right? Friends, family, loved ones, like you name it, we all knew the date. And year over year, I think what I recognized on the anniversary was that it's not as prevalent in everyone's mind anymore. And as much as you can say, wow, that's really sad, people forget, but you don't, right? Like that remains with Brooke, but others forget. I somehow tended to look at it differently and had this like huge aha moment of, when you go through a trauma, yes, I was at the center of that trauma, and Jonathan and I were the closest in the world to each other, right? Versus his parents to Jonathan. I mean, I lived with Jonathan. He was in my life, and I was by far the closest person to him in the world when he passed. And so not only did I have trauma, but there was a collective community trauma, right? I'm kind of wrapping this into almost like community trauma. And the first year, we all remember, we all reach out and we all do the thing. Or when people saw me the first year or two, oh my gosh, how are you? Or like I hadn't been to certain places and I had to do the thing where everyone asks how you are and like the whole thing. But year 4, as there's less and less individuals who reach out, or less and less individuals who like ding, remember, like, oh wow, that's today. It tells me that as a collective community, in terms of our grief and trauma, so in terms of our collective trauma, because we all experience this, yes, in different capacities, but we all experience this trauma, it demonstrates to me that as a community, right? A collective trauma, we are all doing better and we are all more healed. The healing will last the rest of our lives, but we are all more healed than we were year 1, year 2, even year 3. And again, you can still listen to this and say, I can't believe certain people in Brooke's life did not reach out. Sure. Like there's a little twinge of like, okay, right? I think I'm so used to, rather than expecting from others, just sitting back and being surprised. I'd rather be surprised of like, wow, that was really nice that they reached out, rather than the expectation of, you're a bad person, or you don't love me enough, or you don't care enough if you don't reach out, right? So that was just my mindset. And so I'm going to take it for what it is. I would be lying if I said it doesn't hurt a little, right? That certain individuals didn't reach out, mostly closest family members. But again, I was okay on that day. I'm happy that as a community, right? And the community, when I talk about that, is friends, family, loved ones, anyone who knew or was close to Jonathan. That community trauma, we are all doing better. And that is a win for every single person within that community. And honestly, when I did the vlog in my car, it brought me to tears, because trauma is hard and grief is exhausting and painful. And I want everyone to be okay. I want everyone to be doing better, or continuing to move the needle, or slightly more healed than the last year. And when I mean move the needle, I mean 3 to 5%. I don't mean, ta-da, we're good. Like, let's get back to life. Now, I've explained to you what I felt year 1, 2, and 3 would be. Year 1, I was like, this is going to be fight or flight. And it was. I kind of tricked myself and said, Brooke, you got this. You have the tools. You know, you can, like, you got this. Like, if anyone can trick the system, you can do it faster. I couldn't. But that just goes to show you how the brain works and functions, and the time that the brain needs. Year 2, the dust settled in a really hard way. That is like my line for year 2 in terms of my brain felt things that I was not yet ready to feel on year 1. And the things that I had to feel and the things that I had to move through were probably the hardest of the entire grief process. Now, year 3, I was like, Stella's going to get her groove back. I'm vibing, I'm jamming. I almost thought, I was like, Brooke's going to go back to where she was, which I am forever changed, right? And I had to accept that during year 3 because it was kind of a letdown in terms of like, this was supposed to be my year. Like, this was supposed to be it. But what year 3 ended up truly being is a building block and a year to rebuild the life that I continually want to have. And I would say year 4, right? We've hit 4 years, was truly living out that. And so I would say that Stella got her groove back in year 4. That's what I would say. I had more fun than I've had in a really long time. I had more peace than I've had in a really long time. I had more presence with my boys than I've had in a really long time. My boys are also older. And so every single year, it's gotten so much more fun for me. Some people love the baby, infant, toddler stage. But for me, I love my children being humans that I can talk to and have real open conversations with and connect more on a human level and teach them, and they understand so much more. So that has been so incredible. We had beautiful, beautiful vacations together and connected moments. And I would say that from year 3 to year 4, it was a win. Like, I am totally happy with that win. Year 4 overall was a win, and I could not be more proud of that. Now, what I'm not saying is that it was perfect. I am not saying that it was easy. One thing I have very much leaned into recently in the last few weeks is how much I'm truly doing. And it is not easy to build, support, run, and CEO it up a company. Like that's not easy. This is something I longed for and wanted, and I love and I crave, and I couldn't be happier with the team and where we are at. And I got to tell you, I've never been more proud of the team that we have. Like I've never been, we are all so connected. We are all working so hard to get to the next stage of what we want to work on for all of you. And it's very, very exciting, and it's all hands on deck, and it's fun. Like we are working hard. And besides the fact that we are a team in business, we are a team in life because we spend so much time together. Even if we don't live in the same place, even if we don't live in the same city, it is the most beautiful connection to know what's going on with each other and each other's lives. And I would say that it's really hard sometimes, especially such as anniversaries or birthdays or this or that. It's hard for all of us to be in different states because we are so connected and we do love each other so much as a team. And again, as I was reflecting on 4 years and recognizing, holy shit, I definitely do a lot. I see myself having more capacity to do even more, picking up the pieces where otherwise I needed the team to help me, even in my personal life, or things as simple as like, what's that stuff called? Home exemption on taxes, right? Or whatever it's called. You can clearly tell I do that a lot, right? People don't realize that when you lose a spouse, you don't just lose a loved one. You lose a partner who was handling and supporting half of the jobs in your home. And you are therefore thrust into managing all parts of the home, taxes and feeding the dogs and maintaining the roof or the gutters or the hot water heater, or like you name it. And like that wasn't all on me beforehand. It was divided, or we just, whatever we were good at, we just kind of stepped into those roles and did. One thing that gets me so perturbed, and it's been something of mine since Jonathan's passing, even when Jonathan and I were separated, that just because I was alone, I did not want that to stop me from being able to do the things I needed to do. There's a video that I can find you during COVID where Charlie's chain kept falling off of his bike. His like bike chain, right? And I was like, I'm gonna figure this out. So I looked at a YouTube video and I was like, oh, okay, that looks easy. Tried it for like 30 minutes, was really pissed off at this bike. And the kids were playing in the front yard or something, and I was probably cursing. Who knows? I was like, Like, I was so pissed at this bike. And I finally was like, I cannot do it anymore. I have reached my max. I will try again tomorrow. The next day, I go back out there. I pull up YouTube again, and there's no joke. I shit you not, like a 6-year-old. And she's like, and this is how you do it. Thanks, guys. And it was a 3-minute video. And I was like, if she can do this, it's on. Like, it is on. And the first time it took me 30 minutes. The second time, I think I got it in like 10 or 20 minutes. And then we needed to get Charlie either a new chain or shorten it, or I don't remember. We eventually fixed the whole problem, but his chain did keep coming off. But I did it. And this video was like, I'm like almost in tears. I'm like, I did it. Like, I did, like the joy that I got from being able to put a chain back on the bike, or the joy that I got from being able to switch out Eli's crib into a bed, or remove or things that Jonathan helped with. And frankly, in moments like that, that I did not have Carter in my life. And I still do things, even though Carter's in my life, where I have no idea what I'm doing because that was Jonathan's job. No joke. I know I already told you this, but like feeding the dogs was a big one for me. It was like out of sight, out of mind. And that was just Jonathan's thing. And I literally had to train myself that if I don't feed my dogs, they will not eat. The fact that I'm doing so much, and somehow I feel this year, even honest to goodness, like even with the shift of after the 4-year mark, the last few weeks, like I have more capacity for more. And I am doing things that maybe were pushed off to the wayside that I was like, yeah, we'll get that done. Like I'm on it. I'm like, let's go. And I think that it boils down to the work that I've done on myself, not neglecting my healing journey, as well as honoring the path of wherever I was feeling it, and then just trusting that this will come when my brain and body is ready. And it has come, and I can see my spark coming back more and more and more and more each year. And year 3, I was like, I got my spark back, but I thought I got my spark back, but it was kind of a trick candle. Like it was like, whoop, and then it would go off. And then it was like, oh, wait, it's out. And then all of a sudden it's back on. Like literally it was like a trick candle. This, I'm like burning bright. And honestly, the last few weeks, I'm like, when's this gonna, am I going to crash? Like, because functioning at the capacity that I am now, and all the different things that I'm doing, and the clarity that I have in my brain, I had so much brain fog, and even my Hashimoto's feels really, really good right now. And, keeping consistent routine of what I can and cannot eat. And I don't feel sluggish and fatigued. And like, I'm like, is this gonna come down? Like I'm waiting for it, because that is the typical of like, if I push myself, then I'm going to feel it, because I had so much grief, and I had so much trauma, and I had so much exhaustion still living in my body. And I am feeling good. And I equate that to the fact that I rest when I can. I allow myself to sit on the couch and do nothing. Very much am strict and have boundaries with my schedule. I take care of myself and eat the correct way for my Hashimoto's. I am getting enough rest and go to bed at night. I don't stay up watching TV or things like that. I have a routine at night. Like I've very much really continued to cut out the bullshit. And it's working. Now, I was at an event with some women entrepreneurs the other night, and it's a group that I'm in, and I love this group. And every time together, we have a question that we need to answer. And the question was, what are you going to cut out, personal or professional, and finally say no to? And my answer was I may get choked up on this part, because I'm really, really proud of this part. I have lived in this home since 2019. This home was a contract grade home. There's nothing wrong with that. I am so fortunate to have the home that I have. We were able to, there was different layouts, and we didn't get to pick the finishes on the home. This was a home that was someone else picked the finishes, and then they decided not to buy it at the end. And there was a bunch of them like that. So we hopped in a few houses literally within the neighborhood, and we decided to take this particular house because it had 5 bedrooms, and we just felt that the layout was the best for us in terms of growing within our home. Literally, as my children grow and get bigger, right? There's like bigger people in the home, right? So then when Jonathan and I separated, I was in the midst of a potential that we had to sell the house. And if I had to sell the house, then I would have had to start over with the boys. I don't know if I would have rented or bought something else. My business at that point, this current business was very, very young. So I don't know if I would have been able to get a loan. I think you need to at least show proof of employment for 2 years, right, within a company. So I don't know what would have happened. But then Jonathan passed and I was able to stay in this home. Yes, that is not a like win for Brooke. Don't, right? Oh, yay, Jonathan. But like, that's not what this is. It's just, those are the facts. Jonathan passed, so I was able to stay in this home. And I bought some furniture to kind of make it my own. Of course, Jonathan and I separated, so he took some of the furniture. And then we went through COVID. And I'm telling you, I utilized each compartment and drawer and this and that of this house. And I did not have furniture in every single room. The guest bedroom upstairs did not have a bed. It was empty. So I used that as the Lego room. The office I used as a schoolroom for the kids. This that I'm sitting in right now was my dining room, and my office was my bedroom. And I started on literally a box. Charlie knows what box it is, on my bedroom on the floor. And then eventually I purchased a standing desk and I got to be in the corner of my bedroom. And then eventually I moved into where the kids' schoolroom was, which is the designated office for this house. There's a front bedroom that is also a guest bedroom, the second guest bedroom. That was full of clutter and things that needed to be gone through. Then on top of all of that, I have Jonathan's stuff, right? It was in a storage unit for a little. We went through that probably a year or two ago. And then I was able to bring the rest of his stuff here to the house, continue going through all of that. And we have narrowed down what we're keeping of Jonathan's. We have it in the house and then we're there. Then I decide we either need to move for a fresh start because by that time it had been about 2 years and I wanted that consistency for the boys after Jonathan passed of like, this is your home. We're not going anywhere. There's a lot that has changed in your life. And this is one thing that's not going to change. And so we stayed. And I am telling you, I started redoing and slowly doing my home and buying different furniture 2 years ago. This process of creating this house into a home has been 2 years in the making. And that's for a plethora of reasons. You know, I had to do it slowly so that I could afford to do it, as well as I had a really hard time making decisions because I've never done this. I've never made these types of decisions on my own. I have had a very, very strong mother, and she was an interior designer, and I have had a very strong, opinionated older sister. And so I trusted their opinions most of my life, and I still do trust their opinions. But for me to be able to step into my own, find my own style, feel what's right for me, and develop a sense of what I want my home to look like took some time. And the craziest part about all of this is that the finishing touches, literally, truly the finishing touches, and there's a few still things that we've got to do within the house, but I'd say it's 95% done. The finishing touches on everything I've done to the house literally happened the week of Jonathan's 4-year anniversary. And before we started construction, I did this ass backwards. But before we started construction, I went through every single room, every single cabinet, every single drawer, and I purged the living you-know-what out of this house. And I bought organizational things, and I did it. And I did it during winter break, this past winter break. And I was like, we should go on vacation. And instead I stayed and I barely saw Carter. I was like, nope, got to do this room today. Like I'm almost there. Nope, got to do this room today. Like I was determined to get it done. And this had been deferred maintenance, I'm telling you, for years that I didn't have the capacity. And even this weekend, I cleared out my old office that was kind of like a sitting ground for like all the things that were coming in for the construction and different parts and pieces and hooks and toilet paper hooks and like all the things. It was just a hodgepodge of stuff. If we didn't know where to put it, we put it in there. And I completed that room or started that room, and it's now going to be put into a home gym, and you can see the floor, and the kids have gone in there every single day since I've done it. And my front room is furnished with a bed, and my gym is clean, and my office is peaceful and beautiful, and my kitchen is like something out of an Instagram post that I could never dream I could have. And my bedroom is the most beautiful, peaceful, serene place I could ever imagine living. And I even love my laundry room. because we did a few things to that. And the carpet is not shag carpet anymore. And there's not dark heaviness around me like there was. It's light and bright and airy. And my children's rooms are put together. If you're like, I don't have that kind of house, like we just live in, like, trust me, like, okay, I have never had a home like this. But this is something that I've wanted. I've wanted this. It was a goal of mine, right? A personal goal. We all have personal goals. And to be able to have a home that feels organized and balanced, and I don't have stuff all over the place, or it's not just a throw room, like I'm utilizing each room, and every room can function now as it should, as bedrooms or this or that, is such a monumental win for me, because it's something that I wanted. It was a goal of mine. And I could not be more proud to have built this house with the memories of Jonathan and the good and the bad, the hard times. I have made this my own. I have, for the most part, gotten rid of 90% of all the furniture that I had when I was with Jonathan, except for one bed, and that will be replaced, because I needed a fresh start. I needed a fresh energy. When I finally got a new bed frame, Carter helped me take it down and unscrew and do the whole thing. And the energy I felt immediately when that bed frame left the home was like, it just lifted. And I think that that's all part of the 4 years. I think it's all part of the process and building the life that I want, even with the circumstances that I was met with. And again, please don't, I sometimes shy away from sharing my wins, because I never want you to feel less than. I never want you to feel like you're behind, or that you should want the same things as me, or if you don't have the same things as me, or if your house doesn't, if it's not complete the way you want it to look, that doesn't mean there's a hierarchy, or I'm better than you, or that I have more capacity, or it doesn't mean anything. I'm just simply sharing with you my own journey. And I really, really want you to know that as you listen to this, because I would never want anyone to feel lesser than. This is just a huge, huge win for me. And frankly, I didn't know if I would ever get there. And I could not be more proud of myself, because at the end of the day, literally at the end of the day, I made this happen, and I did this for me and my children. I did not get a handout when Jonathan passed. I did not get the help that you would think. I did not. I had to pay for it all on my own. I had to make it work. I had to do all the things, and I had to get to where I am. I'm really proud of that. So now I get to enjoy my house, and now I get to enjoy seeing my children grow up in peace. I think the reason I had this goal is because a peaceful home and an organized home, to me, feels regulating. And a chaotic home or disorganized home, or not knowing where your stuff is, to me, felt very dysregulating. And it was almost like if you're wearing a backpack, and speaking of, I just got the Go Ruck backpack, and it's baller. It's as if I was wearing 20-pound weight on my back, with literally all the things that I've mentioned to you, of like the home exemption, or, or the clutter in this or that room, or not having a bed in that room, or being able to afford a new bed frame, or like, it was like 20 pounds. And instead of switching from 20 to 10 on my back as I kept walking through life, I maybe switched to 19, and then 18 and 17. And very slowly, I just have been crossing things off the list. And I want you to hear me when I say I started this process in this home in 19, right? I did not jump into this home and say, okay, let's fix this, and this, and make it what I want it, and buy all the things. I did not get to do that. And on top of that, I'm telling you, I had to do this over the course of 2 to 3 years to financially be able to change the things, or have the time to do it. Now, the garage is the last piece. I'm not taking you in there for a tour, because there's nothing to go see right now except for tons of clutter. However, it's in there, and I'm good, and I will tackle that. Now, I'm going to switch gears, and I want to talk to you about something I did, I don't know, maybe a month ago. And that is the Prenuvo scan. I wanted to do this Prenuvo scan for years. I saw someone do it years ago, and I sent it to my team, and I was like, I want that. I want to do that. Please reach out to them. Let's see if we can work together. like, you don't understand. This is something personal that I would love to know, my health and all the different things. Well, it took years, but we've shifted some people in the business, and I now have the team is just in the pocket. We're all doing so well, and it's just a wonderful team. On a Friday, I got the news that Prenuvo wanted to work with me. And the reason I'm telling you that we collaborated is because I understand that this test, this scan, this MRI is expensive, right? And I'm so grateful that I was able to work with them. But what I will tell you is the peace of mind that I have getting the scan and getting my results back. I, again, was like, some people, when they're like, I'm going into an MRI, it's going to be a closed environment, which it wasn't. It was a huge, big room and all the things. But I was like all smiles all day long. I was like, I'm going in the machine. Here we go. Like, I was so happy. I was so excited. He was like, turn around. Let me make sure you have no metal. I'm smiling the whole time. Like, this was such a beautiful day for me because I knew that I was checking another thing off the list, right? In my Go Ruck pack, I was taking 1 pound out of that weight to know how my health is. And the results did come back. And there's been so many stories that I've seen either on the Prenuvo page or just in general, or people talking about that if it wasn't for Prenuvo scan, they wouldn't have known about the mass they had, or they wouldn't have known about the liver, or they wouldn't have known about whatever it is for them. Lucky enough, I got my results back, and there were 2 findings. One was that I have dense breast tissue, which like 70% of women have dense breast tissue. And I already knew that. My grandfather, which is, I'm sure you probably know, it is not the norm, right? There's percentage wise, but it's not the norm. Most women get breast cancer. My grandfather had breast cancer, and I took him to the walk after, and he got to wear a survivor shirt. And honestly, he was the only male in a survivor shirt. And he had it later in life. And I was so proud of him for walking and going through it and talking to everyone. And so I know that that's a precursor that I need to keep track of. And for someone like me, they recommend an MRI and then a mammogram every 6 months, I believe. I did thermography in California when I was out there at the Center for New Medicine. And then now I've done this. And between those 2, I feel like I'm in a good place. And I hope that I can go back every year to keep getting checked. And I feel like as long as I have that scan once a year, I am keeping track and making sure that we catch anything very, very early on. The other thing they found was that I have a tiny bulging disc in my lumbar spine, my lower back. And that just sucks because I guess it comes with age. But knowing that, I am tuning in so carefully into my workouts to make sure that I don't feel any strain within my back. I've also just started this EMS, this body by EMS workout. And immediately when they put the suit on me and the electrodes turned on, I could feel my chest open and my back lift. And I really feel like I can start to do things to help support that disc so that it doesn't degenerate or get worse. And I wouldn't have known that without Prenuvo. And I wouldn't have known that until I had a problem with it. I wouldn't have known that until the pain was so bad, or I had a bulge so bad that I needed cortisone, or like it would have just kept going, right? And now I can support and hopefully prevent it from getting worse. And the overall experience for me, it was magical, because when you lose someone, most oftentimes, I mean, you can have health anxiety without losing someone, don't get me wrong. But most of the times when you lose someone or you're a solo parent, you then have this health anxiety of, gosh, I need to stick around. I need to be here. And I do feel that, like, I want to be here for my children and they need me, right? My children need me. And so having that peace of mind is worth every single dollar. Every single dollar. And I do have a code. I can link it in the notes of this podcast. And we have a specific code that if you put that code in, you'll get $300 off the scan. There are only certain locations. I had to fly to Dallas to go get it. And I was more than happy to get my butt on a plane and go. I almost drove, but I was like, you know what? The flight is super, super cheap. There's perfect times in and out. And it frankly worked out. I know sometimes there's more of a headache if your flights are delayed. It just worked out. I got to see 2 of the awesome people on our team while I was there, and we did a work day together and after the scan, and it was just magical. Magical. Now, the last thing I'm going to catch you up on is this weekend. I do not know when this will be aired, this particular podcast. So you may hear this after these events, right? You may not hear this on Friday when podcasts drop, but I have been nominated for Austin Women Magazine, and I've been nominated again for the second time for Austin Under 40. And I'm really trying to take it in this year, and it's not easy for me to do, right? I've said the things and I told you I'm proud and all this, but I say those things to try as hard as I can to let it permeate, because it is not easy to accept and recognize like what I've done and how far I've come, even in the midst of everything that's taken place in my life. And I have family coming in town. I have team members coming in town. And, the other day I was talking to the boys and we were talking about school, and they were asking me about my doctorate program. And we talked about a cadaver lab and what that was like. And I said it was probably one of the coolest experiences of my life. And I showed them, I keep my note cards from my cadaver lab because I probably spent thousands of hours on these note cards so that I could learn insertion and origin and action and what it innervates. And I mean, you name it, we needed to know it. And I pulled them out, and I think I did rubber cement. I found a picture, and then on the back, I wrote all the information. Some of the pictures that I printed off are falling off of the note cards. That's how old these are. I graduated from my doctorate program in 2011, and I still keep them literally in the cabinets behind me. And I was showing them these cards, and I looked at the boys and I said, did you all know that I went to the #1 school for occupational therapy? And they were like, you what? What does that mean? And I was like, of all the programs in the country, mommy got accepted to the #1 program for occupational therapy. I don't know if I've ever, there was moments throughout where I was like, damn right you did that. But to be able to tell my children that, and to be able to bring my children to these events this weekend, which I have consciously and actively chosen to do. I don't care if I win or lose. I do not care, but I want them to see that hard work can pay off, and that hard work is necessary to build the life you want to create. And I have one Thursday and I have one Saturday in the midst of baseball playoffs and rain and continuing to change the baseball games. And who knows who's going to what event at this point. Honestly, we're shuffling, but I could not be more excited for this weekend. And I think it's always a culmination of where I've gotten to. And last year, my mom and I were sitting there at the Austin Under 40 event as a finalist. And I mean, my mom was tears were just couldn't stop. And I couldn't look at my mom because tears then were coming to me. And I was like, holy shit. I cannot believe I did this. I cannot believe it. I cannot believe that I was able to do this through this time of my life. I cannot believe it. So I have a lot to be grateful for, a lot to look forward to. And that is really my update for now. I have so much more to tell you, but I'm going to leave it for another podcast. And I have my notes. Don't you worry, we'll get to it. But that's all for today, whenever you're listening to this. But until next time, thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting always. Thank you for truly, I don't even know how else to say this, but thank you for liking me enough to stick around. I would assume there's something within me that you like if you're sticking around, which that is such an honor, and I'm grateful for that. And because of all of you, you've allowed me to be myself even more and trust myself even more because of so many of you supporting me. So thank you. And until next time, XOXO, Dr. B.